Oh my, I am running a little bit behind, but here we go. Let's fire up make it live on Facebook as well. And get my notes open here. Cool. Okay. Wow. Ooh, unable to access the Facebook account. Hang on, maybe we can't go live on Facebook today. Try it again. We'll see what happens. Looks like it could be working this time. Yep, here we go. Okay, this meeting is being live streamed. Super. Okay, so any minute now I should be seeing the Facebook Live little area. Yes, there it is. And hello. Please say hi and where you're tuning in from. And I have a sneeze coming on. Oh my. Let's see if it goes away on its own. It could happen. It could happen. Okay, so y'all, welcome to Thriving Live, Tuesdays at 2. Every week it's been happening, and we are, believe it or not, at episode 28. That means for 28 weeks, I have been showing up and doing the show live almost every single week. I might have missed a couple of weeks for various reasons, probably really good ones. I think only one time did I maybe not do it because I really didn't feel like I had anything to offer, or I didn't feel like I wanted to, or maybe I was feeling under the weather. Those were my like less stellar reasons, to be honest with you. And that's okay, that can happen. I don't have to go 100% or 1000% all the time. 100% of the time. I can sometimes just not. I can take care of myself. I can honor my feelings. I can do all those things, and so can you. So this show is about thriving life and sort of how to create that juicy, abundant life that you may be desiring and you haven't yet figured out how to arrive, or maybe you haven't arrived at it yet. And you'll often see me kind of catching and changing my words in the middle of a sentence, because sometimes I'll just start saying something in a sort of old patterned way, and then there's another part of me that says, watch your language, because it may be negative, or it may be not as clear as you would like it to be, or maybe it's not as accurate as what you actually really mean. And so find another way. So often I am changing, cutting, editing right in mid-sentence. And the reason is because I want to deliver the most powerful message that I can when I am speaking. And I haven't yet reached a level of confidence and skill that I desire in speaking spontaneously as I would like. And since all things are possible, and I know that I eventually achieve things that I actually put my attention to, and my focus and my time and my effort, and my practice on, then I see the kind of results that I am desiring. So just like with language and messages and all of that kind of thing, excuse me, the same is true the same principle is used for manifesting the juicy, desirable things that you wish to have in your life. And at least that has been my experience over and over again. And boy, I know I'm jumping right into all the things, the sort of things that I want to talk about. And that sneeze didn't come, so now I have a little bit of a sniffly nose. Very exciting to know that, right? And I'm just going to jot down a note here so I don't forget where I was going. The house. Okay, so that's just so I don't forget. Okay, so usually, always, almost always, I start with a pleasure first practice. And I've often talked about what pleasure means on the show. And it's not always related to sex, believe it or not. It's all the different kinds of ways that we can receive and experience pleasure in our lives. And sometimes that can simply be seeing a fresh bouquet of flowers in your house. It could be taking a nice long bath, it could be reading a bit of poetry. It could be dancing or singing or moving. And I actually need to take a moment and grab a tissue. I'll be right back. I'm going to pause the recording here for a second. Okay, sorry about that. Excuse me. I needed to grab that tissue. So, pleasure first today, I think, would be dancing. Dancing through the blueprints. And I'm just thinking about how I want to do that because I want you to be able to hear me as well. So, let me think on that for a second. I think, this is just me being me, figuring stuff out on the fly. So I'm thinking that I could run it through my computer. I could run the sound through my computer. However, that's likely to create, it might block out my own voice. And I want you to be able to hear what I'm saying. So I might have to wait on that particular pleasure practice to do with you. And in fact, well, I'll talk about that later because it's something that's coming up that I want to talk to you about. But yes, a pleasure practice. Let's see, what will it be? It's so quiet here today. It's pretty cool. Well, I think I'm just going to invite you to sit quietly with me and we'll meditate a bit. Let's see about maybe doing okay, so I'll do like a guided meditation with you, taking you into a bit of an experiential guided meditation, and just notice what sensations you're able to imagine and how real or not real they seem to be for you. Okay. So, and just then the police go by, siren goes by. Okay, so I'm sitting down today instead of standing, which I usually do. I'm usually standing and moving around a lot, but right now I want to settle in with some long, slow, deep breaths. Nothing special or forced. Just slowing down enough to feel calm in your body. And in your breath. So imagine just staying with your breath, letting it be slow and easy, calming breaths. See if you can even feel your breath up into your chest. Maybe allowing your exhales to be a little longer than your inhales. And always through your nose. In and out, if possible. If you're too stuffed up, for whatever reason, you can also just breathe through your mouth if you need to. It's all perfectly okay. And you can't do it wrong. Okay. So now I'm going to, with your eyes closed, I'm going to guide us through an imaginary space and time and sensation. I haven't done this in a while, so let's see what happens. So imagine with your eyes closed, you are outside on a perfectly beautiful, sunny, warm day. And the temperature is just exactly right. Not too cool, not too warm. It's just exactly how you love it, how you feel the most satisfied with the breeze and the smell and the air. And imagine you're lying on a blanket, maybe under a tree, maybe under an apple tree or a big maple tree. You're looking up into the treetops, and you can see the sun dappling through and the wind, the breeze just moving those leaves ever so gently. And you can feel that sensation of a breeze across your face, across your skin. And there's nothing to do and no place to be. And you can actually 100% drop in. You could even, if you felt like it, drop into a nap, a restful state. You could fall deeply asleep if you wanted to. It's that kind of day, the kind of freedom we rarely have, especially when all the pieces align and you get also the sun, the warm, the place to be, the ease, a blanket on the ground under a tree, and the warm sun, and all that time available to you. Maybe you've never even had that before, but in this few minutes, you can imagine it and give it to yourself now. You can create that for yourself in your imagination. So let's just be in that for a few moments, lying under that tree, on a little blanket, on a blanket of some kind. And letting your eyes be open or closed. If you like watching the light dappling around, dancing around on the leaves, you can keep them open. Or if you want to watch the clouds in the sky go by. This is your time. You get to just be in it in exactly the way you want to be in it. If you're feeling sleepy, you could just relax more and feel the caress of those breezes against your skin. Feel and smell that fresh air coming across you. Maybe you can smell some clover or some flowers or some thyme. So many possibilities, and this time is imaginary, restful spot under a tree that's just for you. Notice how you're feeling. Notice if your breath has changed or your heartbeat has changed or anything like that. And if you want to imagine yourself at some point rolling over on your side, or maybe getting up on your hands and knees and stretching your back, sort of doing a cat stretch, and maybe arching your belly, making a cow, and kind of doing some cats and cows or some stretches so that your body feels it's getting the good stretches that it wants, that it might be craving, either from how you're sleeping or just how you've been feeling. Give yourself that. Give your body what it's asking for. Now, taking that just a little bit further, I'm curious to know if you also get this sensation. If you've ever had this sensation, you'll know what I'm talking about. When on your hands and knees, walking into the grass, right? I don't even remember the last time I was walking on my hands and knees in the grass, but I can still feel that sensation on my hands of the grass pressing into the skin of my palms and the coldness of that grass, the texture under my hands, and the coolness of the earth under my knees, and even the texture of the grass under my knees as well. And imagine moving forward a little bit into that grassy area if you want to play this little extra part. And see how much you can imagine the feel of that cool grass under your fingertips, under your hands, between your fingers as you move on your hands and knees in the grass on all fours. Can you feel the texture against your palms? Can you feel the coolness of the earth against your skin? Maybe even a little wetness from the earth soaking into your jeans at your knees, or whatever it is you're wearing in this little imagination romp we are having in the grass. Can you imagine also lowering your head, lowering your nose to the ground, and smelling the earth? So all in your imagination, although I would encourage you to do it in real life as well. Move your face down into the grass in your imagination And breathe deeply that smell of the earth, of the dirt, the moisture. This is always there for us in some parts of the world. Naturally, not in all parts, but where there's grass, there is going to also be cool, moist earth. And that's so amazing to think about. And if you want, you can also smell the grass, see if there's any smell that comes from the grass itself. And paying attention to the texture in your hands still as you're touching the ground and you're imagined crouched down to the ground. So now that we've had some fun crawling around in the grass, allow yourself to bring this little meditation to a close in whatever way feels really right for you. In my case, I would probably feel gratitude. I am feeling gratitude for the earth and for the soil and for the grass and for the rain that creates the moisture in the soil and all the critters that help keep it aerated and healthy so that grass can grow. And gratitude for my senses, gratitude for the sense that I have of touch and of smell and sight and hearing, you know, being able to hear those breezes and the leaves and like sort of creating that soft sound of leaves moving. And if I took a piece of grass and chewed on it a bit, I would have also experienced the sense of taste. So really feeling gratitude for all of the senses I get to experience in my life. And then also this little period of absolute total freedom to go not physically into a space. I didn't drive out to New Marlborough or go find a tree here in town to get under, lie down, get my blanket and all the things. But I still had that lovely experience in my imagination. So I'm feeling so much gratitude for the power of my imagination to allow me to have that experience and almost feel like it was totally real. And I can still feel in my hands, in the surface of my hands, the tingling from the grass, that little ticklish feeling on my hands. And I wasn't even in the grass. And it almost feels like my knees of my jeans are a little bit damp from the grass, from the soil. But clearly it's not. It's just the felt senses that come alive when we can move so deeply and fully into experiencing something in our imagination. And so that ties into the pleasure principles on so many levels, right? Because like I said, pleasure isn't always about sex. It isn't about a whole lot of other things. It can be much bigger than that and much smaller than that. It depends on like how you want to use this facility that we have to engage our imaginations, engage our minds, and to bring in all of our senses. Now here's a secret to manifesting things, to really enjoying things in your life, is being able to put yourself into those states of being. That like really being able to go take the time. This took what, like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at the most. I think I had been talking a lot before that, so maybe it was 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of like really visualizing in your mind's eye, and then experiencing in all of your senses as best you can, just using your imagination, something that you desire or wish to have and have be a part of your juicy, thriving life on a regular basis. And the more you can move into that imagined, lived experience, the more real it becomes, and the more kind of done, accomplished it is in sort of the metaphysical realm, right? So it's like we don't even have to really desire or crave it in such a sort of desperate, wanting, graspy kind of way, because we created it within ourselves. We know what that feels like. It's like, oh yeah, I can experience that, and I totally appreciate it. Like, what if I came out of that exercise of being on the grass, taking a little, sort of picnic rest under the tree? What if I came out from that experience? It's just a guided meditation, right? With my imagination. What if I came out and said like, oh yeah, but I never get to do that. And that was just like fake, and that, like, whatever negative things I could come up with about it. Well, as opposed to the appreciation that I came out of it with, which is like gratitude for like having my imagination, having my senses, having the ability to imagine to the degree that it was almost real, and I could really feel this ticklish sensation in my hands from the grass. There's so much to appreciate in that. If instead I was bitter and it's like, yeah, but that wasn't real, and that's just made up, and that, I'm never going to have that, blah, blah, blah. Those are two different kinds of energies to be carrying, right? Very, very, very different energies to carry. The negative, not going to have it, wasn't real, blah, 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 is guess what? Going to attract more of not having it, not satisfying experiences. And also just not feel good for the rest of the day, right? Like why come out of some kind of experience, even if it's like somewhat pleasant, even if it wasn't like ecstatically pleasant, why not come out of it with still some gratitude, some appreciation for the fact that we were able to have that, and telling the universe and ourselves like, wow, I just had this really cool experience, which means, by the way, I can have more really cool experiences. And guess what? I really appreciated having that really cool experience. And so guess what? That means I'm letting the universe know that that's my jam. I loved it. More of that, please. That was super. I love it. So it's like, imagine if someone gives you a gift and says, here, I want you to have this magnifying glass. It's an antique. It belonged to somebody that was really special to me, and I really want you to have it. And you receive the gift and you're like, I'm blind, I can't use this, or something, right? Or for whatever reason, there's no appreciation, or you never say thank you to the person. Do you think that person is going to give you something again in the future? Or feel good about having given you this special thing, this special experience, or this special gift? Not too likely, right? So if instead you received it and you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, thank you so much, this is just gorgeous, and thank you. And then you were even maybe wrote them a note afterwards, or you talked about how you have started using it and how much fun you're having with it, or how meaningful it is to you in some way. That person is going to feel so good about giving you that thing that they gifted you. And the same is true with the universe. In my experience, in terms of thriving, the same is true with the universe. If I am poo-pooing what's happening in my life and not having any appreciation for the good, the bad, the indifferent, like any of the experiences, then I'm letting the universe know, like, I'm just, yeah, whatever, even the good ones. But if with the good, you know, the ecstatic, the pleasant, the nice experiences, I can take a moment and appreciate them and go like, wow, that was really nice. That was a really lovely meal, or that was a really nice, you know, encontro, spontaneous meeting up with someone that I haven't seen in a long time. What a treat that was. Then the universe digs that, because it's like, Gabrielle really appreciates these things. And it's so much fun to bring things to people who are appreciating things. And here's another little known secret, that if we're stewing about the things we don't like in our lives, the things we don't want more of in our lives, but we're giving that a lot of thought and time, the universe is being told that we're thinking about this a lot. And so that also says, this is what this person's into. And so I'll just give them more of that, right? Whereas if I have these two things that happen in one day, let's say I have let's say like I spill a gallon of milk in the kitchen and it's a mess. That's one, that's like experience A of the day. And experience B is running into a friend who I haven't seen in a really long time, happened to be eating outside as I was coming inside. And so I got to see him, haven't seen him in years, gave him a hug, and, you know, had this nice thing. Now, if I spend the rest of my day choosing between these two experiences to dwell on, to think about, I'm basically letting the universe know that that's my preference. This is where I'm willing to and habituated to put my attention, right? So I could stew over that spilled milk in the kitchen, or I could not think about it. It's done, it's over. I could think about this lovely encontro with my friend who I haven't seen in a while and appreciate that. And I don't have to dwell on it, but just the appreciation of it, even for a short while, is still the message that, yes, I appreciated that. That was so nice. I love that when that happens. That helps the universe know your preferences. Okay. So what I always tell and share with not just my clients, but even my friends, it's like, notice where you're putting your attention, notice where you're putting your energy, notice what the emotions are that are attached to that time and that focus. And just assess how much time you're giving to the things that don't feel great, that you're not happy about, that are uncomfortable, versus how much time you're with and aware of things you can appreciate, things that are going well, things that feel good or look good or taste good, you know, like all the other things. And this is not to say avoid feeling your feelings about the things that are upsetting. Absolutely not. It's really, 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 really important that we don't bypass experiencing our emotions, our true emotions around an event or news or an experience or whatever it is. We really need to experience our feelings and not jump away from them, because that causes all kinds of other problems that we don't want in our lives. It does not contribute to thriving, I'll put it that way. And instead, have our feelings and see them and acknowledge them. Like, oh, I feel so, so frustrated and even angry with myself about, missing that deadline or something like that, or I'm really angry about the thing that person said to me. And okay, great. Be with the anger of being with the thing that the person said, and acknowledging that you're feeling angry to yourself. And instead of it being outward focused, see if you can bring it inside and just feel like, what does it feel like in my body when I'm feeling this kind of anger about something someone said to me? Oh, I feel it like right here, deep inside, like someone like is like doing this inside my chest. And then just being with that for a few moments and seeing if there's any wisdom, any information from the wounded part inside, right? Realizing that we are made up of all these different parts, right? That have different ways of responding or reacting to things, And sometimes, like I've said before on the show, they want to like take over driving the bus. And so the anger could try to take over the rest of your day, or even the rest of your week, or even the rest of your life. And be like, I'm going to drive this truck. I'm going to drive this bus, and we're going to do it, right? And it could be disastrous, especially if that's like not who you are at your essence, at your core. You might be like a really peaceful, loving human, and that the only time you get really angry is if someone says something hurtful that upsets you, and then that could trigger a huge reaction. So when I say focus on or pay attention to where you're putting your energy and your thoughts and your focus, your time, your attention, if it's something that is an upsetting event that you haven't processed your emotions around, have your emotions and see if there's something inside the part that's hurting or feeling the shame or the fear or whatever it is. See if there's something you can give it. Sometimes all it needs is a little bit of attention, a little acknowledgement, like, oh, yeah, that hurt. A memory from a long time ago that might have been the first time you experienced it might come up. And then you have the link and you go like, oh yeah, that was kind of like that experience. That really hurt. We don't have to change it. We don't have to make it wrong or right. We don't have to fix it, right? Just acknowledging it. And sometimes that's all that's needed. And if not, it's kind of like a kid that's like, I want more attention. If you can give it a little more attention, then okay, you can find out what it needs. Maybe go do some deeper work, either with a therapist or trained, if it's a trauma-related event or childhood memory that's really painful, you could work with somebody who's specialized in that. And there are quite a few coaches that have some practice with accelerated evolution and with the emotional freedom technique that can help integrate those feelings so that that part of you that wants to grab the wheel of the bus and take over doesn't have to do that anymore, right? It can be like, oh, there's that feeling, and I don't have to react or jump on the bus and take over the wheel, right? I like, there's that feeling. Hello feeling, right? It doesn't always happen overnight. This kind of work usually doesn't. Sometimes there are experiences where it can, depending on the kind of work or therapy you're doing. But basically, that's the thing. Anyway, back to thriving and manifesting what it is that you wish to have be a part of your thriving, juicy life. Spend more time thinking about those things, not like in a longing, grasping, and figuring out, calculating kind of way. Like, how am I going to get that to happen? What am I going to do? Blah, 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 blah. That isn't always useful. What is useful is that visualizing, like we did with the earlier practice, the pleasure first practice, being outside under the tree and just experiencing it. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you see? What are the smells? What are the tastes? What are the thoughts? What are the emotions in your imagined, achieved place, right? So, yes, like, let's say you really desire a relationship that is warm and sensitive and gentle and kind and loving and adventurous and, I don't know, spicy and fun, right? So any one of those things or all of them combined, you can just like go into this meditative state like we did earlier, just slowing down your breathing, bringing into mind these sort of sensations and how they might feel, right, in your body and in the space. And you can imagine it's like daydreaming, really. Daydream and feel it and enjoy it and try to taste it and sense it in all the ways that you can manage to do as much as you can. And in that enjoyment and loving experiential time, then you might even say like, okay, so what are some next steps towards finding that or bringing that into my life, right? Sometimes it comes first with giving it to yourself, giving yourself those sensorial experiences, giving yourself that love and that gentleness and that like really fine caresses, or however you like, like to be touched or dined or wined or whatever, and start treating yourself and or someone else so that you're showing the universe, I really enjoy this. This really lights me up. I love spending my time this way. I love being in company in this way. You can imagine your conversations and you can imagine the kisses or the adventures or the things, right? And so pretty soon the universe is saying, hey, I see you really like this. Here, try this one out. Try this experience out, right? And then you get to try it out and see what that feels like. And then again, coming away with it. What were the things you loved about it? And allowing yourself to spend some time there. What were the things that were not quite perfect? Sometimes that contrast just helps us define more clearly what it is we desire. And being careful to not, what was I going to say? Not to poo-poo it, or in a daydreaming state to not be. So there's one thing to move into the experience as though you're experiencing it, right? And then it's another thing to desire a thing from a place of need and lack, right? Like, oh, I really want to have a relationship that's like loving and kind, and I'm just never finding it, or just can't find anyone like that, right? Like that is a really different energy to it than the one I described earlier, where you're daydreaming and you're really allowing yourself to feel into what that delicious relationship would feel like, right? They're very, very different. So again, if this is the one you're saying, like, oh, you know, like, I really, really want this. I really want to find someone. I really want this. I really want that. Like, I just can't find anyone. Then guess what? You're just going to keep not finding the right person, the right relationship, the feel good relationship, because that's what you're saying and expressing, as opposed to the other experience of visualizing and feeling all the things in all the ways that you possibly can. And talking and thinking about that from a place of having it, like from a place of having experienced it, having tasted it, having delighted in it, right? So yeah, so that's always a really key thing that I talk with my clients with, and also my friends and my lovers and myself included, and my son and other family members. It's like, pay attention to your thoughts and the words that are coming out of your mouth, which comes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of today's show. I often will stop mid-sentence and try to find a more correct word, or a more positively more positive way of expressing it. So, phew, I am amazed at how quickly the time can pass when I'm sharing things that I'm really excited about. So just going back to my notes here, I gave you some, yeah. Okay, so we did the intro, we did the pleasure first practice, that meditation, we did the topic of the day, which is basically pay attention to your thoughts. And we did a tool of the day, which is a visualization and feeling all the sensations, as many sensations as you can, for the things that you desire, as well as just giving yourself a rest and using it as a way to have pleasure in your life. When I think of pleasure, I always think of pleasure as fuel, right? Fuel for the next thing, fuel for my life, fuel for persevering, fuel for moving forward, fuel for overcoming any like insecurities or doubt or things like that. It's like a refueling, a refreshing. So the pleasure practice, even if it's like a lying down and not brainstorming, daydreaming experience, like I led us through, that can be a total reset for me, a refresh. Different from reading a book, right? Because in a book, I love reading books, and that also is pleasurable. Can also function as fuel, although there's a lot more intellectual stimulation. And so it's a different kind of engagement. I was going to say work, but it depends on what I'm reading, I suppose. So it's different from daydreaming, right? If we get too bogged down in the details with the daydreaming, that can sometimes also feel like work and not be refreshing. So it's really important to allow yourself to just like melt into the experience, even if you can only like access a little portion of the experience. So anyway, if you're curious about more of that or exploring more of that, you could always reach out to me. We could talk about ways we could work together. I could guide you more in this direction if this is something that could be helpful to you. You can always reach me at gabrielle@morepleasureplease.com, and watch the social media channels where I will soon be announcing a number of things that are coming up, including a masterclass. Yes, a masterclass. It's going to be so good, so exciting. It'll start in November, and we will have 2 free intro classes or workshops before we get started, so people can get a taste of what it's about, what's to come, and what you can learn from it. So mark your calendars. I can give you those dates and times for the free workshops. One workshop will be on Sunday, the 9th of October from 3 to 4:30 Eastern. And on Wednesday evening, the 12th of October from 7 to 8:30 Eastern. And the sign up links I don't have yet. Just email me at gabrielle@morepleasureplease.com and I can make sure that you get the information. So I'll be posting those things up on our social media pages, and I'll probably talk about it more next week on the show. Very exciting. We're going to do some fun things. So yeah, reach out to me anytime. Gabrielle@morepleasureplease.com. Okay, my loves, I am going to sign off. We have much to do here in the studio and in preparation for all the things that are happening. And so I'm going to sign off. Thank you for being here. I love you so much. It means a lot to me that you're watching, that you're here, and I hope to hear from you again soon. In the meantime, I send you loads of love and a kiss. Ciao.